Police are saying at this time that a 16-year-old juvenile, was taken to the Orange County Courthouse for a court date. He had been housed here at the Minnie Rogers Juvenile Justice Center. Crime fluctuates from year to year, and it's really hard for law enforcement to pinpoint really the reason for it. There are some factors they do consider, though, like the unemployment rate, the economy, and what groups criminals seem to target. Caution tape lines the streets outside the Walls unit here in Huntsville, where Lawrence Russell Brewer is scheduled to die by injection. Merchandise has been flying off the shelves here at Academy. Now, in anticipation of an LSU win, they'll have products for you tomorrow morning. Benzyl piperazine, also known as BZP, is a Schedule I Penalty II drug, meaning it's in the same category as methamphetamine and ecstasy. It was found in a sample of these bath salts. A separate study is underway to possibly close 3,600 post offices across the nation. The community of Kuntz is talking and are outraged to hear about the abuse Brianna Lofton suffered. They're also asking themselves, how could something so horrible happen to a 4-year-old girl? The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is leading the investigation at the Minnie Rogers Juvenile Justice Center. The Orange County deputy had brought the teen back to the Justice Center from a court hearing in Orange County. Investigators want to know how the juvenile got the deputy's gun and why the 16-year-old shot him twice in the upper chest. Law enforcement officers have been at the detention center all day, gathering evidence to help them with the case.
Initially, obviously, we're going to contact law enforcement.
At approximately 10:20 this morning, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office received a call from the Minnie Rogers Juvenile Center in reference to shots fired and an officer down.
It started as a trip from the Orange County Courthouse back to the Minnie Rogers Juvenile Justice Center, where the 16-year-old juvenile is confined.
There was a struggle inside the Sally Port here, and at some point in the struggle, the 16-year-old juvenile got the deputy's gun. There has been some shots that were fired.
Jefferson County Sheriff Mitch Woods says the teen took the deputy's .40 caliber handgun and shot 45-year-old Deputy Fred Ashworth twice in the upper left chest near his shoulder. Investigators say there was a short standoff with the teen, during which workers from the Minnie Rogers Center and the wounded deputy tried to talk him into putting down the gun. Deputy Rod Carroll was one of the first officers on the scene. He and others began treating Deputy Ashworth. Carroll is a certified critical care paramedic.
I was able to transition from peace officer to paramedic very quickly because I had confidence in everybody around me, because we've done it so many times that I didn't have to worry about the suspect anymore. I knew that the suspect was being taken care of.
Carroll says Ashworth armed himself with a taser and had the wherewithal not to give up. He knew help was on the way.
Obviously had an adrenaline rush, but he was conscious the entire time. He was worried about his family.
Sergeant Chad Hogan with the Orange County Sheriff's Office says Deputy Ashworth was not wearing a protective vest when he was shot.
It is our department policy that when you're in uniform that you have to wear a vest. We're not sure why he didn't have his vest on or the particulars, but yes, our department will be reevaluating the situation so that this won't happen again.
Sergeant Hogan confirmed the teen was handcuffed, but doesn't know if he was shackled, whether his feet and hands were bound together.
It's heart-wrenching to know that we put our lives on the line every day to protect the citizens, and sometimes things like this happen. There are just some evil, mean people in the world. And
employees stood outside Renaissance Hospital after deputies told them to leave, while inside the tax collector talked with administrators.
It's never a comfortable situation, and it's shocking. And it has to be, because operational security is very important in things like this.
Tax assessor collector Shane Howard says the hospital owed more than $635,000 in delinquent taxes.
Our goal is not to shut the operation down. That has nothing to do with that. But my responsibility to the taxing entities and to the community is to make sure that if I feel that there is a risk of property being liquidated or moved out of the county, I need to execute a tax warrant to secure that in place.
There were only 5 patients in the hospital Friday. They were either released or transferred to another hospital.
The Texas Department of State Health Services has been investigating a complaint about the hospital. 3 inspectors showed up Monday and remained at Renaissance today. They say their goal is to ensure adequate patient care, not to close the hospital unless there's good reason. Howard says he also wants to make sure the owner can pay employees so they can keep working.
I did not seize payroll bank accounts on purpose. And so, in fact, I've even encouraged employees, if they've received their checks, and I've actually encouraged the facility to print any remaining payroll checks.
Sherelle Moore works in the medical records department and says she's the only one left. Moore told us her checks have been late. She said she only got paid yesterday for the December 23rd pay period.
See, all of these benefits, they were taken out.
But you have no insurance.
But I have no coverage.
Moore showed KFDM a letter from her insurance company, which indicates her insurance has been terminated since October 31st. While some employees wait for answers, the tax office got what it wanted today.
We collected over $635,000 today, and that satisfies the tax liens for past years as well as this current year. And so as far as the Jefferson County Tax Office is concerned, this hospital is back in good standing.
In good standing with the tax collector, but not with some workers, and no final answer yet from the state. In Groves, Lindsey Kovacevich, KFDM 6 News.
The murder of 13-year-old Crystal Jean Baker in 1996 is just one of the many cases involving young women who may be victims of a serial killer or killers. 45-year-old Kevin Edison Smith is charged with capital murder in the girl's death. Investigators have pegged him as a person of interest in other murders along the I-45 corridor between Houston and Galveston. Could he be linked to some of the cases from the killing fields?
Just off Interstate 45 south of Houston is a small to mid-sized industrial town called Texas City. If you're not from Texas, you might drive by the town without a second glance. Most of the people work at refineries and chemical plants. They make news when something goes wrong there. In 1996, something else made news.
Last time that anybody saw her was about 1:30 in the afternoon.
It was March 5th, 1996. 13-year-old Crystal Jean Baker went missing after she had used a phone at a convenience store to get a ride to a friend's house.
That same afternoon, after she was last seen at 1:30, her body was found over here in Chambers County.
Baker was found under the Trinity River Bridge off Interstate 10. She was beaten, strangled, and sexually assaulted. With no suspects, the case went cold until years later, DNA evidence was uncovered.
They were able to detect DNA or a semen stain on the dress.
And that's when this man, Kevin Edison Smith, entered the picture.
Some time goes by, and later on, Mr. Smith gets arrested in Louisiana for a drug case, pill case. And the Louisiana law mandates that you have to give a DNA sample. So they took his DNA sample, and the normal processes, they inserted into CODIS also as an unknown person being added, and just pop and matched.
Smith was working at Motiva in Port Arthur in September of last year when he was arrested and charged with the murder of Crystal Baker.
At some point in time, his DNA came in contact with her dress. That's all we can say for sure that we know.
Stephen Taylor is Smith's attorney. He says in order to prove capital murder, the prosecution has the burden of showing Smith killed Baker intentionally while sexually assaulting her. But the defense also carries a burden.
I believe the family contacted Quanell X and asked him to counsel with him. And after Quanell X counseled with him, we have this statement that comes out.
Smith wants to take back the statement, and his attorney is hoping prosecutors can't use it against him at trial. But Crystal Jean Baker and Kevin Edison Smith may be only two parts of something much larger.
Along this stretch of Interstate 45 from Galveston to Houston, dozens of unsolved murders involving young girls. Are some connected? Police believe they are, and they may have a certain person in mind.
Do I believe that some of them are connected? Absolutely. Do I believe there's one person traveling I-45 for 35 years killing all these girls? Absolutely not. That's insanity to even think that.
Now with Smith's name on the radar for the Baker murder, Lieutenant Tommy Hansen says Smith has become a person of interest in other Killingfields cases.
We know that chronologically and geographically, you know, he was from our area. He had lived and worked in the area through some of those years.
Lieutenant Hansen is with the Galveston Sheriff's Office. He's devoted much of his career to solving many of these cold cases. This board serves as a reminder of why he wants to solve the crimes, why he wants to talk with Kevin Edison Smith.
Common sense says he has to be someone we have to at least talk to or want to talk to. And, you know, we'd like to look at him for some of these things. And, you know, if he's involved, we'd love to have his cooperation.
They have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours, even post-arrest. They just didn't stop. But right now, to my knowledge, as of right now, this minute, there isn't anything that physically connects him to any other crime.
Things about these cases that are on this board that we know for a fact. And if he was involved, he'll know for a fact.
Body was found right over there.
Facts weren't the focus of Texas Killingfields, a new movie loosely based on the crimes. But Lieutenant Hansen says if it can help generate leads, solve one or more of the murders, it's served a purpose.
And our role in this is to clear the case and give closure to the families.
Both Hansen and Taylor say they're seeking the truth. Truth for a man charged with capital murder. Truth for the families of other victims along the killing fields of I-45.